Ben Shephard has always been one of British television's most beloved figures. From his early days on GMTV to his warmth on Tipping Point and This Morning, he's become a comforting presence in millions of living rooms. Reliable, gracious, and full of quiet charm. For years, fans have adored not just Ben's professionalism, but the love story that grounded his success, his long and steady marriage to Annie Shephard. They were the epitome of quiet elegance, a couple who seemed to have it all. Not loud, not showy, just genuine. Two people bound by shared values, mutual respect, and a love that survived the glittering chaos of television fame. But now, shocking new reports have shaken that once unbreakable image. According to insiders close to the couple, Annie was left heartbroken after receiving what she described as undeniable evidence, something that changed everything she thought she knew about Ben. And those closest to the This Morning star say he's barely holding it together. It began, as these things often do, with a whisper. For years, Ben and Annie seemed untouchable, childhood sweethearts who built a life grounded in love, laughter, and mutual support. They met long before fame and fortune. Back then, Ben wasn't a household name. He was simply a young man with big dreams and an even bigger heart. Annie, thoughtful and grounded, saw beyond the bright lights. She loved the man, not the presenter. Together, they built a life that most would envy. Two sons, Sam and Jack, a beautiful home in Richmond, and a bond that seemed to deepen with every passing year. But fame can be a double-edged sword. As Ben's career soared, juggling Tipping Point, Good Morning Britain, and his growing presence on ITV, the couple found less and less time for quiet dinners, slow mornings, and the simple life they once cherished. Then, the whispers began. A few innocent comments online, a photograph taken out of context, a claim from someone inside the television industry that Ben had grown close to a colleague. At first, Annie brushed it off. She knew her husband's heart, his loyalty, his decency. But then came the message. According to an insider, Annie received something that made her stop. A message from a mutual friend warning her to ask Ben about one of his recent projects. Those words, gentle but loaded, reportedly sparked the confrontation that would change everything. It was late. The children were asleep. The house, once filled with laughter and the hum of conversation, was quiet. Annie, sitting by the kitchen table, waited. When Ben walked in from work, tired but smiling, she asked him to sit down. What followed, according to sources close to the family, was one of the most emotional moments of his life. Her voice was trembling, but calm. She asked for the truth. Ben, visibly shaken, reportedly tried to reassure her that there was no betrayal, no hidden life, no lies. But Annie wasn't convinced. The details remain private, but what's clear is that something broke that night. Not necessarily because of proof of wrongdoing, but because trust had been shaken. For Ben, it was like the air had been sucked out of the room. Friends later revealed that he looked lost, sitting in silence long after Annie had gone upstairs. He reportedly said the next morning that he'd never seen her look at him like that before. And by the next day, she was gone. Not dramatically, no paparazzi, no public statement, just a quiet exit, a bag, and a note left behind for him to read. In the days that followed, Ben Shephard was a shell of himself. Colleagues on This Morning noticed the change. Normally upbeat and full of life, he seemed quieter, still kind, still professional, but distant. He looked like a man carrying something heavy, one crew member shared. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. At home, sources say Ben was struggling to sleep. He'd been replaying that night over and over again, questioning every word, every choice, wondering how something so strong could feel so fragile overnight. He reportedly reached out to Annie several times, leaving messages and sending letters, but she didn't reply. Instead, she was seen staying with a close friend in the Cotswolds, spending time in nature, away from the noise. Those who know her say she was heartbroken, but composed. She wasn't out for revenge or sympathy. She simply needed space to think. Annie has always been described as the anchor in Ben's life, calm, intelligent, and self-assured. Her friends say she values integrity above everything, and when trust is shaken, she doesn't react with anger, but with quiet resolve. She's heartbroken, one insider told Closer, but she's also strong. She's not the type to stay where she no longer feels safe emotionally. In private, Ben's remorse has been overwhelming. Friends close to the presenter say he's been battling waves of guilt and self-doubt, even though he insists there was no betrayal in the way the media paints it. Ben's devastated, one colleague shared. He's always been the family man of television, loyal, loving, proud of his wife and kids. The idea that he might have hurt Annie, even unintentionally, has destroyed him. He's reportedly pulled back from social events, preferring quiet evenings alone or with his sons. Insiders say he's even considering stepping back from television for a while, just to breathe, as he put it, and rebuild his family life. To those who know him best, this isn't about saving face. It's about rediscovering what really matters. Meanwhile, Annie has remained silent, dignified, composed, and determined not to be drawn into the public spectacle. She's refused interviews, declined comment, and focused instead on her sons and her own well-being. Her silence, in many ways, has spoken louder than any words. It's the silence of a woman processing heartbreak in private. A woman who once shared her life with a man she believed she knew completely. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, they're living separate lives. And yet, according to one family friend, Annie hasn't closed the door entirely. She's just waiting to see if Ben truly understands what broke, and if he can rebuild it with honesty, not promises. When news of their separation broke, social media erupted in shock and sympathy. Fans flooded Ben's Instagram with messages of support. "You're only human," wrote one viewer. Another said, "We're praying you and Annie find your way back to each other." For years, the Shepherds have been viewed as a rare example of enduring love in an industry built on fleeting fame. So seeing them falter hit differently. It wasn't gossip, it was grief. Because for so many, Ben and Annie represented something real, something to believe in. In recent weeks, Ben has been quietly meeting with close friends, old mates from his tipping point days, and even his ITV colleagues who've stood by him through thick and thin. They say he's humbled, deeply reflective, and more open than ever. He's been journaling, one friend revealed, writing about gratitude, about mistakes, about love. He told me he doesn't want to lose Annie, not because of pride, but because she's his home. And that's the part that strikes the heart of this story. Behind the fame, the headlines, and the polished TV smile is a man who's simply heartbroken. A man who's come to realize that love, real love, isn't about perfection. It's about forgiveness. Sources close to the couple say that despite the silence, there's still a flicker of hope. Ben has reportedly suggested couples therapy and taken steps to show Annie that his focus is and always will be family first. He's been seen spending more time at home, stepping back from commitments and prioritizing moments with his sons. As one friend put it, Ben's not giving up. He believes love can heal even when it's tested by time and truth. Right now, Ben Shephard's world feels uncertain. The cameras still roll, the lights still shine, but behind them stands a man learning how fragile happiness can be, and how precious it is when you almost lose it. And Annie Shephard, the woman who once stood quietly beside him on every red carpet, remains the calm at the center of the storm. Graceful, strong, and deeply human. Whether this chapter ends in reconciliation or quiet separation, one thing is clear. Their story has touched hearts not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. It's about love, loss, forgiveness, and the hope that somehow, after everything, two people might still find their way home. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, and stay tuned for updates as this story continues. A story not just of heartbreak, but of love's enduring power to heal, even in silence.